going to be making these Parmesan croutons. They were inspired by Ashley of Martin Midlife Misadventures, who made croutons as part of her Flour It Up weekly collaboration that comes out on Friday. So I'm going to join that collaboration and do the croutons also, but a little bit differently. She did croutons in the air fryer. I'm going to bake them, and my combination of seasonings is a little bit different, but you can do whatever you want. So I have 3 of these hot dog buns. They're pretty stale. I volunteer for the food bank, and I do deliveries, and sometimes my clients don't want things. So they give them to me, and either I pass them on, or in the case of the bread, which wasn't going to keep real well, it was already kind of marginal, I just threw it in the freezer. So I'm going to cut these up into like chunks. These will be fairly large chunks. If you have like bread, like sandwich bread, you can make smaller chunks because the bread's thinner, but this is fairly thick. You know, it's fairly thick, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it as is. Start putting it in here. All right, here's those 3 rolls cut up. And again, they're bigger than your average croutons, but you know, Caesar salad croutons are usually pretty big, and I've put these in soup and they're just delicious. So I'm going to set these aside and just put together the seasoning mix. I use the term seasoning mix kind of lightly because I just put in whatever I feel like putting in. I'm going to start with onion powder. I don't use onion salt or garlic salt because I'm using a couple of other seasonings that already have salt in them, so I don't want to oversalt. I think we oversalt our food. So there we go. It's maybe a tablespoon. You basically want about half a cup of seasonings when all is said and done. Now I'm going to use garlic powder, about the same amount. Be liberal. I like this Badia. It's all-purpose seasoning. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. And it's from Dollar Tree. I'm going to put that in. And that has a lot of salt in it, so that'll solve our salt issues. And I also like this Cavender's all-purpose Greek seasoning from Walmart, so I'm going to put a bunch of that in. Here we are, Italian seasoning. I'm just going to put a lot in there, maybe 2 tablespoons. And finally, Parmesan. Again, a lot. I have this Parmesan and Romano from Great Values, Walmart. There. So we have about a half a cup in there, and more or less. I'd say use more rather than less. There we go. We'll mix it up. Now I've just turned the oven on to 350. We're going to bake these in the oven, so I'm going to grab some olive oil first. And I'm going to put some olive oil, drizzle some olive oil on this, and mix it up and add some more olive oil. You want olive oil on all the pieces. They don't have to be 100% coated, but you do want the seasonings to stick, and the olive oil makes it kind of nice and brown. So I'm using a wooden spoon for this because the more you mix this, the more crumbs fall off of the bread. I do save the crumbs separately, and I have something in the freezer with the seasoned breadcrumbs that I'll add later to something that I'm making. But in the meanwhile, you want to keep the bread cubes here as intact as possible. So now I'm going to just put that seasoning in. I'm going to put some of the seasoning in and mix it. Then add the rest of the seasoning. These are so good. I mean, they say you can keep them up to a week in a mason jar or something, you know, tightly sealed, and they did not last a week. What a joke. I had them in 2 salads and then in some soup, and the rest of the time I was munching on them. They were so good. So you just want to add the seasoning until they're coated. If things look a little dry, you can always add more olive oil, but so far it looks pretty good. Now I love cast iron, and I don't have an air fryer, so I made these last time in these cast iron frying pans. I don't have a big frying pan, but I have a bunch of small frying pans. And in the frying pans, with the edge around them, when you turn these or kind of toss them around in the pan, they won't fall off. So So I'm going to put some in each pan. You want enough room for them to toast. You don't want to overcrowd. Here are the breadcrumbs that sloughed off the bread when I was mixing it. And when I'm done doing the bread in the frying pans, I'm going to put this in one of the frying pans and toast it too. Here are all the breadcrumbs in the frying pans, and I'm going to pop them in the 350 oven. It's been about 20 minutes, and these are getting nicely toasted, but they're not completely toasted. So I'm just going to grab my spoon and turn them a little bit. As you can see, it's great to have the edge of the frying pan there so nothing flies over the side. So I'm going to finish turning these over, all 3 pans, and put them back in the oven. It's been about 10 more minutes in the oven, and these are nice and toasted and crispy all the way through. Here are those seasoned breadcrumbs that just fell off the rolls as I was mixing them, and I'm going to put them in the oven for probably less than 5 minutes and get some nice toasted breadcrumbs. And here are the breadcrumbs, all nicely toasted. These don't last very long, so you either have to use them pretty much immediately. I have a container in the freezer. I'm putting them in all my extra little breadcrumbs. They're highly seasoned, so you can add them to plain breadcrumbs or whatever you want to do, but they sure are good. I think this is a pretty good return on 3 stale hot dog buns, don't you? Now that I've made my own croutons, it's really hard for me to go back, I think, to processed ones. So anyway, that's just one idea of what you can do with bread that you might have normally tossed. Thank you so much for watching.